Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive with me today?
Always.
All right, so you folks had a lot of interest in the French Revolution.
Yeah, always a popular one.
So we're going to dive into that today.
A lot to uncover there.
Yeah, I've got some excerpts here from the Wikipedia article on the French Revolution. And
Good starting point.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always good to have like a base level.
Call it a foundation.
Yeah. So let's see if we can kind of like unpack this together and see what kind of insights we can uncover.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so to start off, like, what did France look like before everything went haywire?
Good question.
The article mentions a population boom.
Oh, yeah. Huge.
France grew by like a third between 1715 and 1789.
A third.
It's just hard to even imagine what that kind of growth would do to a country back then.
Well, think about it, right? Strain on resources.
Yeah.
Housing, jobs, even just the social fabric. Everything's getting stretched thin.
Yeah.
And you've got Paris, already a massive city with, what, over 600,000 people at this point?
Wow.
It's bursting at the seams. Yeah.
This isn't just a number on a page. This is people, real people competing for everything.
Yeah.
Work, food, just a place in society.
And with this rising middle class that the article mentions, they're getting more educated, right?
Definitely.
They're starting to become more aware of their, I guess, limited rights.
Right, and their potential.
Yeah, and it's kind of like they're saying, hey, we're helping build this country, but we don't really have much say in how it's actually run.
Exactly, and they see the extravagance of the nobility, the lavish lifestyles.
Oh, for sure.
Well, they're the ones feeling the pinch of the economic woes.
Yeah.
You know, France was going through a recession in 1785.
Right.
Plus, there are some bad harvests, so food prices are up.
What?
Even basic necessities are becoming hard to come by.
Yeah.
That breeds discontent, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then, there's the big one.
The elephant in the room?
Yeah, the debt crisis.
The finances.
But here's what I found interesting. The Wikipedia article said their debt wasn't actually that high compared to other nations.
That is interesting.
So what made it such a huge problem for France?
Well, you got to look at how that debt was being managed. Their tax system.
Yeah.
A disaster, basically.
Yeah.
Inconsistent, complex, different rules in every region. People didn't even know what they were supposed to be paying.
Wow. Yeah, that just sounds like a recipe for resentment.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? When the monarchy actually tried to reform this system,
Yeah.
they got blocked.
Really?
And the nobility and the regional parliaments. These parliaments were like high court.
Oh.
They could basically overrule the king.
Wow.
So you've got this clash brewing, right?
Yeah.
Between the folks who benefit from how things are and those who are desperate for change.
So much tension already.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a population boom, a frustrated middle class.
Don't forget the economic hardships.
Yeah, the financial crisis, and a ruling class that just doesn't want to budge.
Sounds like a recipe for revolution.
It really does.
But there's one more ingredient, ideas.
Yeah.
Don't forget, this is the Age of Enlightenment.
Oh, right.
And France is like the heart of it.
The epicenter.
Exactly. You've got thinkers like Voltaire and Rousseau.
Yeah.
They're challenging the very idea of authority, promoting individual liberty, reason.
Oh, yeah.
And these ideas, they're spreading like wildfire.
Especially among the educated elite, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely.
And let's not forget the American Revolution.
Can't forget that.
I mean, talk about inspiration, right?
Huge inspiration.
A nation throwing off monarchy.
Getting rid of the king.
Establishing a republic.
Yeah, the French were fascinated.
Yeah.
They saw it as proof that what they wanted, liberty, self-governance, it wasn't just a dream.
It could actually happen.
Exactly. And all of this leads up to 1789.
Okay.
And the decision to call the Estates General.
The Estates General. Now, why was that such a big deal?
Wow. It was the first time in over 150 years that this body had been convened.
Oh, okay.
It was supposed to address the financial crisis, but it actually backfired spectacularly for the monarchy.
Okay, so the article highlights this crazy disparity in representation.
Right, totally unbalanced.
The first and second estates, the clergy and nobility, right?
The privileged few.
They could outvote the third estate.
Which was everyone else, basically.
Yeah, all the commoners.
Right, the vast majority of the population.
It doesn't seem very fair.
No, not at all. And imagine how the third estate felt.
Yeah.
They're carrying the weight of this economic crisis.
Right.
They're inspired by these new ideas of equality, but their voices are practically silenced.
Yeah, it's a system that was rigged against them from the start.
In a way, yes.
So I guess it's no wonder they decided to take things into their own hands.
They had to.
They declared themselves the National Assembly.
Bold move.
Yeah.
A real turning point.
And they swore the famous tennis court oath.
right there on the tennis court.
vowing to draft a new constitution for France.
Imagine that. A whole new set of rules for the nation.
It's a huge shift in power.
No longer content with just asking the king for reform. They were taking charge.
Yeah. But I think the real turning point, the moment that everyone remembers,
The iconic image.
yeah, is the storming of the Bastille.
July 14th, 1789.
The day the revolution really took hold in people's minds.
It's incredible to think how a fortress with only 7 prisoners could become such a powerful symbol.
Right. It wasn't even about freeing those prisoners, was it?
No, it was about what the Bastille represented.
Yeah.
The arbitrary power of the monarchy, the oppression.
It was a symbol of everything they were fighting against.
Exactly. And the way they tore it down brick by brick.
Wow.
So quickly, so fiercely.
It just shows how much anger and frustration had been building up.
Years of it, all coming to a head.
So what about King Louis VI? What was his reaction to all of this?
Well, let's just say his attempts to control the situation were,
Not very successful.
we could put it that way.
Okay.
His most infamous move, the flight to Varennes in 1791.
What was that?
He tried to escape.
Seriously?
Yeah, he and his family tried to flee the country, hoping to rally foreign support against the revolution.
But it backfired.
Big time. He was caught, brought back to Paris, basically, as a prisoner.
Wow.
That really shattered any trust people still had in the monarchy.
I can't imagine it helped his popularity.
Not at all. It was a pivotal moment that really paved the way for the First French Republic.
So the revolution is in full swing at this point.
Things are really moving now.
The monarchy is on the verge of collapse, and France is heading into uncharted territory.
Yeah, lots of uncertainty.
This is where things get really complex, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
The revolution was far from over. In fact, it was about to enter an even more turbulent phase,
Oh, no.
full of radical reforms, political divisions, and the rise of some figures who'd really leave their mark on history.
Can't wait to hear about that.
It's a wild ride.
All right, so I guess we'll have to leave it there for now.
Until next time,
But make sure to join us for part 2,
we'll be diving even deeper.
where we'll explore all the twists and turns of this incredible period in history. See you then.
See you then.
Okay, so we left off with France, just in this total state of upheaval.
Yeah, things are really coming apart at the seams.
The monarchy's on the brink, and the people are demanding change like crazy.
And they're not going to wait around for it.
What I find amazing is how fast the National Assembly moved
Oh yeah, no time to waste.
to reshape, like, every aspect of French society.
It's like they'd been holding back this energy for, I don't know, centuries.
Yeah, and they just let it loose.
Exactly. No more holding back. Look at the abolition of feudalism, for example.
That's huge.
I mean, it's a complete break from the past.
It must have sent shockwaves through the nobility.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They were accustomed to privilege, power,
Generations of it.
gone, just like that.
It's kind of hard to grasp
Yeah.
what it must have felt like to have your whole world turned upside down.
Your entire way of life just vanishes.
You're used to these obligations, the dues, the forced labor, the whole system.
And suddenly, poof.
Yeah. The August decrees.
That's what they call them.
Those must have felt like an earthquake to the people in power.
The ground was shifting under their feet, for sure.
And it wasn't just the aristocracy that felt the impact.
Right. The church wasn't spared either.
The assembly brought the Catholic Church under state control.
That's right. With the civil constitution of the clergy.
Oh.
They basically nationalized the church's land
Wow.
and made the clergy swear allegiance to the government.
That seems like a pretty risky move.
Oh yeah, incredibly risky.
Considering how important religion was in France at the time?
They were deeply Catholic.
Yeah, so it's almost like they were inviting more division.
They were playing with fire, that's for sure.
Okay, so more unrest on top of everything else going on.
Oh yeah, this move really created a schism.
A schism.
Yeah, like a split. Within the church itself,
Oh,
some clergy supported the revolution,
okay.
but others stayed loyal to the Pope.
So you have this clash
Head-on collision.
between the old and the new, secular and religious.
And it's all happening against this backdrop of revolution, chaos everywhere.
Yeah, so the assembly's trying to build this new France, but they're still grappling with, like, the ghosts of the past.
It's a balancing act for sure.
So in the midst of all this,
Well, this turmoil.
they also managed to produce one of the most important documents
Effort.
of that era, right?
Oh yeah, one for the history books?
The Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen.
That's the one.
This
Yeah.
document, with all the Enlightenment ideas,
Liberty, equality, fraternity.
yeah, it proclaimed the fundamental rights of all citizens.
For the first time.
It's incredible to think about
I know.
how this document, written in the middle of all this chaos,
Probably upheaval.
it ended up becoming like a foundation for modern democratic values.
It's a testament to the power of ideas.
To endure, to inspire.
Yeah, to transcend even the most turbulent times.
But I guess it's important to remember that the reality
On the ground.
doesn't always match the ideals.
Sadly, no.
Like, for instance, the article mentions women.
Right, the women.
They were so active in the revolution, but
But they were largely excluded from having full political rights.
that's so disappointing.
It is. The revolution, it advocated for equality.
Yeah.
But that equality wasn't really extended to everyone.
It shows, I guess, that even revolutions, with all their good intentions,
Yeah, all their hopes.
they can still fall short.
Of their own goals.
Yeah.
It's a complicated process. Messy.
Very messy.
But speaking of messy, while all this is happening inside France,
Yeah.
there are threats emerging from outside.
Oh.
The other European monarchs, they're not exactly thrilled.
They must have been freaking out.
They saw the revolution as like a contagious disease.
They were probably terrified
Well, yeah.
that these revolutionary ideas would spread
Like wildfire.
for their own country.
And inspire their own people to rise up.
And they weren't wrong to be worried, were they?
Not at all. The French Revolution, it had a ripple effect across Europe.
Yeah.
Inspired some to push for reforms, others to double down on control.
It really changed the game.
It became the focal point, this question of how much power should the people have.
Wow.
But let's not get sidetracked. What about King Louis VI?
Oh, right, him.
His little escape attempt.
Yeah, fleeing the kind
Abandoning his people.
that had to have serious consequences.
Oh, yeah. It was the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
Public trust. Gone. The monarchy was doomed.
Yeah.
And then in 1792, we have the storming of the Tuileries Palace.
Another palace.
Yeah, this one was in Paris. The king's residence.
And that was the end of the monarchy.
That's right, the end of an era.
And then in 1793, the execution of Louis VI.
A king beheaded by his own people.
Wow, talk about a turn of events.
It sent shockwaves across Europe. Nobody had ever seen anything like it.
The French Revolution, it was really in a whole new phase now.
No, we're going back.
A republic, the old order completely shattered.
But the path ahead, it was far from clear. The revolution wasn't over, not by a long shot.
Oh boy, what happened next?
Well, that's when things took a dark turn. We enter the infamous Reign of Terror.
The Reign of Terror, that's scary stuff.
Oh, it was a dark time, full of fear, paranoia, violence.
It's hard to believe that this came from the same movement that started with those ideals of liberty and equality.
Revolutions can be like that.
Yeah.
They start with noble goals, but they can easily devolve into cycles of violence and repression.
So what happened?
Well, the Committee of Public Safety took control.
Who were they?
They were basically a group of revolutionaries,
Is it
led by figures like Robespierre.
Robespierre, yeah?
They believed they had to use any means necessary to protect the revolution.
Protected from who?
From enemies,
Yeah.
both inside and outside France.
So anyone who disagreed with them was an enemy.
Pretty much. They were ruthless.
Wow.
And the guillotine, it became their symbol.
Um,
Thousands were executed.
Ew.
Accused of treason, conspiracy, often on very flimsy evidence.
That's terrifying.
It's a time of suspicion, fear, everyone wondering who would be next.
It must have felt like...
Like the revolution was eating its own children.
Wow.
A lot of the people who helped bring down the monarchy, they ended up as victims of the terror.
That's just tragic.
The revolution spiraled out of control, fueled by paranoia and bloodshed.
So what about Robespierre?
He's such a complicated figure.
Yeah.
A man deeply committed to the revolution,
Yeah.
but also willing to do terrible things in its name.
He seems like he embodies...
The contradictions.
Yeah, of the whole revolution.
Exactly. Brilliant orator, passionate about helping the poor and oppressed,
Come on.
but his methods were brutal. He wanted to create this republic of virtue.
Republic of Virtue.
Yeah, his vision of a perfect society. But it came at a terrible cost.
So how did it end?
His reign ended in 1794 with the Thermidorian reaction.
The Thermidorian reaction.
Yeah, as a backlash against the excesses of the terror.
Okay, so the terror ends, but France is still a mess, right?
Oh, yeah. Far from stable.
Yeah.
The underlying problems, the things that caused the revolution in the first place, they were still there.
Right.
The Directory. They took over in 1795.
The Directory.
Yeah, a new government. But they were plagued by corruption. They couldn't really govern effectively.
It sounds like they traded one kind of tyranny for another.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah.
The revolution unleashed all these forces,
Yeah.
and nobody really knew how to control them.
So after all that upheaval, the bloodshed, France is still searching for a way forward.
Still trying to figure it all out.
And that's where Napoleon comes in.
Napoleon.
The military hero who promises to restore order.
A new era for France.
But wasn't he kind of a dictator?
Well, that's a discussion for another time.
So it's kind of wild to think about how the French Revolution, with all its chaos and bloodshed, it still led to Napoleon, right?
Yeah, history's full of these twists and turns.
But did it really end, the revolution? I mean, when he came to power?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Or did it just, like, transform into something new?
It's a tough one. Some say Napoleon brought an end to the chaos, that he restored order. But he also, in a way, spread a lot of the revolution's core ideas.
It's kind of ironic.
Yeah, full of ironies.
Here's this guy who becomes emperor, but he's also carrying the torch of, liberty and equality.
At least in some form.
Yeah. How do we even wrap our heads around that?
Well, I think you got to look at it as a complicated inheritance. Napoleon, he took some of the revolution's ideas, like meritocracy, legal reform,
Okay.
and he codified them into his Napoleonic Code.
The Napoleonic Code, right?
Yep. And while that code definitely served his ambitions, it also had a huge impact on Europe.
In what way?
It modernized legal systems across the continent, challenged old hierarchies and privileges.
So even as he's conquering nations, he's planting seeds of change.
Exactly. It's a tricky legacy to untangle.
That's for sure. And you know what else really stands out from this whole period?
What's that?
The rise of nationalism.
Oh, yeah. Huge impact.
Before the revolution, loyalty was mostly to your local region or to the monarch.
Right. But the revolution, it created this sense of French national identity.
Like belonging to something bigger.
Exactly. La patrie, as they call
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And that idea that a people could be united by shared language, culture, history.
It's powerful.
Oh, yeah, especially when you're facing threats from outside.
Brings everyone together.
And that feeling, that sense of nationalism, it didn't stay in France.
It spread
Across Europe. It inspired movements for unification, for independence from foreign rule.
So the French Revolution, it ends up reshaping the entire continent.
In a lot of ways, yeah. And its influence, it goes even further.
Really?
Think about the abolition of slavery.
Oh.
The revolution, while not perfect in how it applied the idea of liberty, it did play a role in ending slavery in French territories.
It's a good reminder that progress, it's not always a straight line.
Definitely not. Lots of twists and turns, contradictions, setbacks.
Yeah.
But even revolutions that aren't perfect,
Yeah.
they can still move us in the right direction.
That's a good point. It's not about being perfect. It's about pushing for a better future.
Absolutely. And, the French Revolution, it wasn't just about politics.
Righto.
It also fueled all these movements for social justice, for more democracy, for individual rights.
So the issues we wrestle with today,
Yeah. Things like equality, representation, the balance of power.
we're still having those same debates.
In many ways, yeah. We're still trying to figure out how to build a just and equitable society.
It's a long road, but it's important work.
Absolutely.
So what do you think are some of the biggest takeaways from this whole deep dive? What really makes you think about how the French Revolution still matters today?
Well, I think the most important lesson is that revolutions, they're rarely simple.
Yeah.
They can be chaotic, unpredictable, even violent.
Definitely saw that.
Good intentions, they can go astray. Even the best goals can lead to bad outcomes.
That's kind of sobering.
It is. But even with all that, with all its contradictions and bloodshed, I think the French Revolution reminds us of something really important. That change is possible. That systems that seem unshakable, they can be challenged and transformed.
And that's a powerful thought. It makes me wonder, what if the French Revolution happened today?
Ooh, good question.
Like in our world with social media, instant communication, everything's so interconnected.
Wow, yeah. Be a whole different ballgame.
Right. How would information spread? How would events unfold in real time?
And all the images, the narratives, the potential for things to get manipulated.
It's kind of scary to think about,
A little bit.
but also really fascinating.
Definitely.
And maybe that's the real legacy of the French Revolution,
How so?
It makes us think, makes us question the world around us.
And it reminds us that the fight for liberty and equality, it's never truly over.
Well said. Well, folks, there you have it, our deep dive into the French Revolution. Hope you found it as thought-provoking as I have. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Tell us what you think about this episode. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.